The marketing and production landscape today is undergoing one of its biggest transformations. Brands grappling with growing content demands, evolving consumer expectation, and the rapid rise of AI is changing the way creative work is conceived, produced, and delivered. And how WPP Production is approaching this shift, we speak with Apoorva Bapna, Transformation Lead, and Raunaq Sikka, National Creative Director, about the evolving role of production, the changing nature of creative work, and what the future holds for the brands. Welcome. Thank you for speaking to Impact Magazine.
Thank you for having us.
So, firstly, starting with the basics, what was the insight behind WPP Production? What were the thoughts in mind when going on with it? And right now, what would you say? How do you see the entire ecosystem evolving?
I'll answer the short to add. So basically, till about 5 years back, everything within the whole creative and the media ecosystem was fragmented, right? So one thing would lead to the other. But as we see now with AI coming into play, etc., things have become more consolidated, and therefore we decided that WPP Production also needed to go through a sense of consolidation, but not consolidation in the traditional sense, but really looking at the entire journey from brief to the execution to production, distribution, etc., as one single that runs parallel to each other. And with that thinking, coupled with the fact that we needed to produce content at scale, which got us to actually bringing in WPP Production to as the not just the rebranding, but in terms of also the way we approach work. And I think one of the biggest sort of shifts that have happened since we came into being as WPP Production, which happened pretty much last week of February this year. I think the first step has been to actually consolidate the talent that we have, the production talent, which is right now sitting across different agencies, is now coming into a single WPP Production unit, so that we are able to cater to the kind of work that we need to do at scale with speed, and using AI as the spine to deliver what we do.
So I think that covers it.
So if you see in the overall industry, there has been also a shift when many independent agencies, digital agencies are having their own production houses. Would you like to say something about that? Why do you think the entire marketing system is going towards production? Is production going to play a more greater role in the entire funnel?
Yeah, see, the needs of the clients have changed today, right? From the point where earlier 6 assets could do the job, it became 60 and now 600.
Yeah.
So obviously the need for larger scaled production is higher. And in that case, of course, the smaller houses will do what they have to do, but at WPP, we'll have to look at the larger picture, right? With so many clients sitting with different agencies within the ecosystem, it's only, normal for us to now scale up that production and bring production as a full-forced entity and do this.
Okay. So because you just said client expectations are changing, so how they have evolved in the recent years? What are the biggest priorities and concerns that our clients coming up with to WPP Production, to WPP basically?
So I wouldn't even speak about years. I would just say in the last few months, with the advent of AI, things are moving really faster, and everybody now expects much more at a much higher speed.
Yeah.
So generally, we've seen the shift going from, hey, can we do this 6 months down the line, to can we do this in 6 days? So that's the transition that the clients are also going through. Also, the content needs, like I said earlier, have increased, right?
Yeah.
Today there are far more media delivery systems available for them to deploy their creatives, and which is why production needs to be not only automated, etc., but also the craft and quality needs to deliver, and which is why AI comes into play a lot, and which takes us to bringing HIVE into the picture so that we can train people accordingly and get them to be ready for this.
Okay.
I also, just to add to that point, I think what is also with clients, what is the expectation is also that while they want scale, they want speed, they want multiple formats, but they're not looking at increasing their budgets phenomenally. So you still want to do things at a level which is not leading to increase in cost, but delivering better quality with efficiency, and which is where AI plays a critical role. So that whole thing about speed, scale, and also today, for example, when you create multiple formats, they're actually applicable not to just one region. They're applicable globally. These formats are relevant across the board, and that's what clients are looking for, especially the global clients. So I think that's what's changed in terms of expectations.
Okay. Because you spoke of the global clients, while collaborating with the global team, is there any kind of a difference you see between the expectations and demands of the global clients and the Indian clients? Any difference in both of them?
I would say not from a craft point of view. Everybody expects great quality, but in terms of speed, I think India wants to run much faster. That's how I would see it. The clients, the local clients, the local market clients typically want things to be addressed much quicker than the global counterparts. That's the biggest difference that we see. But other than that, I think craft quality, the level of work, etc. I think everybody maintains similar standards.
And I think to some extent cultural nuances, right? I mean, global brands want to do things which are consistent across geographies, but the cultural nuances are also critical, right? In India, a festival that's really important may not be relevant to a brand that's in a country outside of India. So how do you sort of keep that nuance, cultural nuance in mind is also critical while trying to sort of deliver consistency to clients globally.
Got it. So the things that you have spoken about right now about evolving consumer expectation, is there any kind of a recent example or a brief that you have got that you think was the most difficult one to execute?
Difficult? None now with AI.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just the scale that is becoming sort of a double-edged sword sometimes, right? More than the complexity of the brief itself, it becomes the complexity of delivering that many more assets at quality, at excellence for that matter, where the creative vision does not get dissolved, and yet everything is delivered on point within brand guidelines, etc. So I think one of the core areas that we focus on is also QA and QC. And that becomes an integral part of what we do with AI, because while AI can deliver a lot of things, it's not always right. It hallucinates and does a lot of things on its own. So the human check becomes very important. That's something we kind of bring to the table.
Okay.
I think what's challenging, unfair in my view, is the talent. Getting the right kind of talent to be able to deliver to the client expectations that are changing. Because while we, for example, we want to call ourselves, and we do call ourselves a content supplier, sort of a production agency which runs at scale, right? Using the cutting edge AI tools and our own operating system, which is WPP Open. But you need talent to be able to work on these tools, right? And that's where you need to build a talent pipeline, which is AI first in its thinking, as opposed to talent. Sometimes that's not really relevant to what we need to do. So I think that's where the bigger challenge is when it comes to meeting client expectations.
Okay. Got it. So because you say right now AI is being used in production, so that also gives rise to a place where differentiation between different campaigns and different brand positioning will get difficult. So is there any kind of a concern from the brand side that you're saying, and what is WPP Production doing to maintain that differentiation between brand outputs?
I mean, that's exactly the human layer that I was talking about earlier, right? AI by itself will deliver similar results, but AI guided by a proper thinking human will deliver different results for different clients. Our endeavor here is to train people on how to use AI better. This whole HIVE initiative is to start thinking with AI and not creating with AI. AI is not just another tool that you use at the end of the journey. You bring it right at the beginning of the journey, right? If you start using it right from the start in the right way and create the proper workflows that are required to use it, then I think the outputs are drastically different and unique to every client. So that whole challenge just goes away. And that's exactly what we're training people at HIVE with. So,
okay. You have just mentioned HIVE, so I would like to know what was the proper insight behind starting with HIVE, what role it it's playing within the entire WPP production ecosystem?
Yeah, so I mean, when you look at AI in context of the agencies today, right? AI is largely used mostly at the level which is around prompt literacy, right? Most people are limited to that, but there's so much more that we could do with AI. For example, we could look at workflow transformation. So how do you
Yeah.
look at creating better workflows where you're actually able to bring in far more efficiencies? You can also look at how do you improve your business outcomes for your clients by working on real client problems, with real constraints. Now, for that level of literacy to happen, you need a talent that was able to work on it, right? Which also means that you need people who are AI first thinking, as opposed to using AI somewhere in the process where it fits in just to improve an existing process, right? So what we're looking at doing with Hive is creating a robust sort of a talent program where we bring in people who actually use AI as the first way of thinking when a problem comes to them. Again, to the point that we made, we're not discounting the human intelligence in all this, because that will always stay, right?
Yeah.
But what AI can help is probably bringing in more efficiency while keeping the creative brains intact.
Correct.
So we've built this program keeping that in mind. Also, uh, this is going to be a place where you will actually build a solid talent pipeline that's going to be available to you to deliver to the client outcomes which are around the whole AI ecosystem. So we're running it with that thought. Young people coming onto the program who obviously have embraced this new world far more easily and are far more accepting, but of course with certain guardrails in place in terms of our entire legal and governance ecosystem, because WPP does have a strong legal governance ecosystem when it comes to AI usage to ensure that our clients are covered in the most right way. We've also used our in-house trainers who are trained in different aspects of AI to actually train these people, so that they're able to sort of understand and learn what they're getting to learn. And there's this whole application part of the program. So whatever you're learning, you're actually applying it every day while you're on the program on a brief that's live, right? So there is this full journey that a person who's on the program will go through. So by the end of those 2 months in the program, they will actually be ready to work with us as employees of the organization.
Okay. And how long has this program been going on?
This is the first time, so we're debuting Hive in
Okay.
India for the first time. Of course, it ran in a different name globally, but in India we brought it, and again keeping the Indian context in mind. So we are debuting it this year. So this is our pilot, but of course the intent is to scale it for future, not limit it only to the talent which is coming from outside, but actually use it for our talent in the organization to train them through specific modules that are relevant to people. And also make it available, to the world outside in a way that will work for us. So whether through educational institutions or through institutes who are looking at creating something like this, to do some sort of a collaboration partnership in future for them. But yes, this is the year where we are going to invest a lot of our time in delivering the program, learning from it, taking feedback, filling that feedback loop, and seeing what better can we do as we keep continuing the program year on year.
Okay. So are these only for college students? Like, is there a particular age group that you would invite for this?
I
Happy
mean,
answer.
for this year, the first year that we're doing this, we've kept it for the final year students to join this, or first jobbers, or someone who's new to the industry, because this is who wants to switch their skill set towards more AI. So that's how we built it for now. Once this pilot is done, we'll know whether we want to open it to a larger market later, etc. Right now, it's for final year students to come in who are looking at entering the job market, to enter fully armed with AI. That's how we've planned it.
And will they be offered a placement in WPP as
Yeah.
well? Okay.
If they perform well, yes.
Yeah.
There's an assessment at the end of the program. So if they meet the assessment scores, they'll definitely be offered a job with us. I think what's also interesting, and Ron will probably talk a little more about that, is the diversity of talent that's applied for the program. While of course when we put it out, for people, we'd ask for people who come with a understanding of creative and technology, right? But it's been really interesting to see people who've applied our on one spectrum, we have people from top tier engineering schools who applied, right? I mean, IITs of the world, and then on the other, we've got people from the creative world who applied. So it's a great mix of people, and we're really looking forward to the program because I think that's what's going to make the program so interesting. There's going to be provocation, debate, questioning, learning from those people who are coming with such solid backgrounds themselves, right? So that's what's going to make the program really interesting for us also.
Got it. You have just now spoke about engineering students as well as someone from the creative field being in the same program. So there's also growing concern in the industry that AI could eliminate some of the very roles of creativity. So do you think is this true? Do you think creativity will hold no relevance in the future?
I'll answer what I think, and then of course Ron can add to it, because I don't think AI is ever going to replace people and roles. It may replace tasks, right? I mean, it can bring in more efficiency in tasks which are repetitive in nature and which don't need a human intervention.
Yeah.
But I think what humans can bring in, with AI as a sort of a support is incredible. So there are three things that I think which will never take the humans away from this whole creative process or creative thinking, right? One is the whole, like I was telling you earlier, that AI can produce the best of output, right? But whether that output is culturally nuanced or not is something that only a human can decide. So cultural intelligence is what humans bring to creative ideation, right? Second part is editorial judgment. Again, the output can be great in terms of reading, but it may not be the right output that you need. Because that's based on prompts, right? So the output that's coming out may not be great. Again, the editorial judgment can only be used by a human for it to use. And the third is the entire piece around business outcomes and transformation, right? Like I said, AI can help you make the processes very efficient, but it can't eliminate the human intervention from how it's going to impact the business and the outcomes. And I think these three things, if you look at, which are integral to a creative process, will always have humans at the center of it and not AI. So I don't see AI removing any roles, but yeah, it may remove some tasks but not roles.
Yeah, I mean, see, there are two ways to look at it. There is work in our world which is high on empathy, and then there is work which is just high on the scale and volume of it. AI can come and manage the scale and volume. The empathy still requires humans, right? And so, which is why creative input will always require a human at the end judging AI, rather the other way around. So it's not replacing people; it's augmenting people. If I were to, relate it to something, what is Iron Man suit without the Iron Man himself within it? It's just that AI is the suit, right? As long as the human augmenting that is there, you can make the best use of it. That's why humans are here to stay.
Yeah.
So Ronnie, there's a question for you. So basically what I know is that the junior level work from where a junior creative lands is right now completely taken care of by AI. So do you think, does it make that entry level role redundant, and does it also risk the training of the junior creatives?
I will just go back to what I just said. The juniors need to also look at AI as their partner, right? And if you're going to be that, hey, I'm going to put a blinder on and say there is no AI existing, then of course you'll become irrelevant. Then your job will probably get affected in some way or the other. But if you're augmenting that, there's no chance. I mean, HIVE, we're getting people out of college. If juniors were getting affected, we wouldn't be looking at them, right? The whole reason why we looked at the junior most is because at that stage in your career path is still malleable. It's still, things that you can mold and create for yourself. And that is the right time when you should invest into learning newer things and choosing a better path that is more augmented, gives you more skills. Today, of course, one human is expected to do more than they were expected 6 months before. So yeah, I mean, that's how we look at it.
Okay. You have spoken about consumer expectation rising. They need something in 6 days, which was earlier about 6 months. So does this greater scale leads to decrease in creativity? Does creativity gets hampered in the process?
No. So like I said, you have to split this apart, right? The
Yeah.
creative process comes much before you start making the assets.
Okay.
So that's where high empathy work, humans get involved, strategy is being made, and with AI now, all the more strategy becomes really important because you need to plan for 600 assets in mind instead of, hey, we'll make one TV ad and we'll make a few digital assets around it. It's not that anymore. You have to plan for commerce, you have to plan for quick commerce, you have to plan for social media. So there is just so many avenues that are available today. And the strategic human function and the creative function becomes all the more important in planning that many things. AI just helps you make it at speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those two are still done by humans, what you just spoke, right?
Mm.
The creative part is still done by humans, so therefore
With the help of AI.
yeah, so that continues.
Okay. With Hive, what kind of skills and capabilities will you try to, pass it on to the younger generation? What will be the most critical technical skills that you think in the next coming years, in 3 to 5 years, will be most essential for this industry?
So specific skills I'll let Ron answer, but I think first one, like I said, it's not so the mindset shift that we're looking at, right? Which is to look at these are the people who will actually look at AI as from a thinking standpoint as opposed to using it somewhere in the process. So that's the first shift that we're looking at, right? Second is this is also backed by the whole governance and legal ecosystem because we don't want people to learn something not knowing where and how can it be used and its implications. So we are focused a lot on helping people understand that whole governance and legal through our own teams within WPP who specialize in that kind of education. I think the third thing that we are looking at is because we've got our own intelligent operating system, which is WPP Open. We want most of what they're learning is through the operating system that we have, within the system, within our own purview. So a lot of that, so all the learning that is happening is going to happen through this as a framework, and of course interspersed with application and practical sort of assessments and so on and so forth. But in terms of specific modules, I think we've built 8 modules which the trainers will deliver, which we can give you the specifics of those.
So
modules.
Right now what we're training is an overall aspect, right? Because what we say is Hive is not creating with AI. It's not about learning a tool. It's about thinking with AI. And AI today comes at various stages in your journey, right? So right from data analytics to strategy to building agents, then building the creative itself, and even media production, like you spoke about TVCs, how to create that with AI. We're teaching all of it. And it's going to be with practical assignments so that they get to work on real world work, which is why it's more hands-on training, and we're calling this an internship more than a training program.
And like we said, we'll only take those who actually meet the assessment criteria after the program.
Okay. So WPP Production, as you said, brings together capabilities from that was previously spread across different teams. It brings under that one umbrella. So do you think the marketing industry right now is in an era where integration becomes more important than specializations?
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, the entire ecosystem, whether you look at competing networks or for that matter, there's a huge consolidation exercise that's going on because I think one, that it brings in efficiencies. Secondly, it also helps bring talent in a way that is useful for the business. And the third thing is that the whole process, what was linear earlier, right? Earlier you would start with a brief, then you would go to the creator, then you would do strategy, then you would do creative, then you would do media, then you would do production, distribution, etc. Right? Today that doesn't exist. Today everything is happening parallelly. Clients are not doing this in a sequential fashion where they're waiting for one thing to happen, then the next. So when that whole ecosystem is changing, and that's you're doing things in parallel, right? Today, for example, a creative guy is not just focused on delivering a fantastic creative, but they're also looking at, if I make this creative, where all will it go? What formats will it run on? What kind of outcomes can it potentially bring? So with that shift that's going on, it's only natural that you need to bring in more sort of integration within the different capabilities, right? And which is why, if you look at us, we've gone through that journey of where we've actually, from being very large, multiple agency ecosystem, we are now consolidating, and particularly for WPP, as Hogarth, we've become now WPP Production. purely because of what's the changing ecosystem looking like. So I think, I mean, this this whole thing of specialization and integration, etc. I think we keep going through phases. There was an era where we were focused a lot on specialization. I think with AI coming into play, we've now gone back into integrating more and more. But of course, there are still roles that are specialized within the agency ecosystem. But by and large, I think integration is the way to be, because it also helps you to collaborate better, right? The more you're integrated, the better you collaborate, and therefore the better is the outcome for clients that you work for.
So basically, right now we are in an era of jack of all trades and master of some. Would you say this is correct?
In a way, yeah, because today I see copywriters becoming better art directors because they can write better prompts, right? So there is no need of you sticking to one silo. Of course, I'm not discounting art direction by this. There is a certain skill that you learn in art schools, and you learn graphic design and things like that, and that skill itself also augments what you do with AI. But at the same time, today, a writer who had no means to doing this on Photoshop can create their own art. It's just that you're doing a lot more than you were earlier, and the whole universe around you is changing with what is happening with these tools. We just need to adopt, adapt, and move on. That's about it.
Okay.
I mean, you can still be master of one thing, right? I mean, you'll always be good at one thing, and most people, it's true. But I think what's now interesting is that just being master of one is not good enough. You're expected to know what's happening around you, and that education is important if you want to be successful, in your career. I think that's really what's changed from maybe 2 decades back, etc. Today, you'll find more and more people, I think, who will be able to work and think in multiple ways as opposed to just being very linear. And that's a good place to be. I mean, that shifting from linear to being able to do, multiple ways of doing things is a great place to be in, I feel.
Understood. Looking ahead, do you believe the future of content production, what will it look like? So with technology coming in, what will define success for the brands, and how will WPP Production help brands in attaining that?
It's a very difficult to answer question, because the ecosystem around us is shifting faster than we can change, right? Today, let's take AI for example. With the multitude of tools available, by the time you start mastering one, they themselves change. So creating a vision of what this world would look like, sort of difficult. Earlier, the tools were standard. You knew that, hey, I will learn this much, then I will learn a tool, and it will help me execute certain things. It's not linear anymore. Things can happen, and they're happening actually all across. So I would say, for the brands, for us, this is an evolving ecosystem. What we bring to the table is, of course, mastering certain aspects of it, delivering craft at scale, at a certain quality output, which is where we've invested our time. WPP has invested a lot in the tool ecosystem itself. The investment from WPP on creating WPP Open, for that matter, where a lot of these LLMs are available to us in a legal framework, in a brand safe environment, where we can just use them for brands and literally without any copyright issues happening. That itself is great, where we are learning that, hey, with this we can just augment the work we do at a certain quality level and at scale. That's what we're doing. If you want to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give you a to me, it's this whole thing about, because I'm wearing the talent culture hat and saying this, it's a combination of mindset and skill set shift, right? I mean, people have to embrace the right mindset to be able to adopt to the changing world in order to be sort of relevant and successful. And that, coupled with the right skill sets that the organization should be able to provide to them, which is the whole learning development ecosystem in HIVE, like you said, is an example, which is for incoming talent, but also for people who are existing within the organization. How do you upskill them? How do you sort of give them the right kind of skill sets so that they will remain relevant for future and be able to deliver the work that's required and expected of them. So I think that whole mindset, skill set is where the shift will need to happen quickly.
Okay, just one follow up. So, do you think this AI coming into the picture, will there be no difference in the workforce that was needed before and what is needed now?
No, of course, it's changing like we began by saying, right? I mean, with the talent that's in the organization that's existed is now learning to use AI more from a point of in an existing workflow, how do you use AI to improve it, right? That's the thinking that the talent that we've hired in the past, and that's the fair way to look at, because they got introduced to it while they were still working on what
Yeah.
they were working on. Whereas the people that we are going to bring in now are mostly going to be AI first thinking people, right? So their approach to a problem is AI first and not something that they're going to do in between the process where they bring in AI. So I think that's a big shift, uh, from from people who are using it in somewhere in your workflow versus people who are using it as a starting point when you're building a workflow. So that is a big shift that's happening in the talent that's going to come
Okay.
into the organization. Much like if you remember the words that we used to use earlier, right? When digital came into play, and suddenly from TV planning you needed people who were into understood digital planning, etc. So we said there were people who were learning to work on digital while they were used to the traditional
Yeah.
formats, and then came the digital natives, who only worked on digital in their life. And similarly, that's what's happening now also with this whole evolution of AI.
Okay.
So I think that shift is definitely happening in the talent, the pipeline that you're going to get in future.
Okay, so the amount of employees needed will be the same, or there will be a decrease in the workforce.
So,
But
I mean, again, the amount of employees depends on the size of businesses you have. It really does not depend on how many AI tools you have. Right? Yes, I would say efficiencies will be far better. The same amount of employees can now deliver more work, considering the type of work that comes in. And at production, if you have to deliver assets at scale, that becomes far more easier with a lesser set of people. So, yeah, I mean, the scale increases with the same number of people, so it's the size of businesses change.